We have billions of songs at our fingertips, available to us anytime, anywhere. But could this just be killing our joy of music? Is the future of music at risk? Some definitely think so, and The Guardian has a really good article giving insight to those that do. Meet Meg. She was working her usual shift at a bakery shop in Boston when one morning she had an epiphany. Tasked with choosing the music for the shift, she flicked through Spotify, playlist after playlist, and yet struggled to find the perfect music to use. She looked some more through the recommended tracks, and yet nothing was perfect for the moment. For her, this was an uncomfortably familiar loop, and she realised something. She hated the way music was being used in her life. Music had taken on a utilitarian role in her life, and was no longer its own experience, its own thing to derive pleasure from. So how familiar is this experience to you? How often have you opened your music streaming app and been struck with analysis paralysis, struggling to find the perfect music to play? When we use our music like this, it's defined as soundtracking. It's not uncommon. In fact, we mostly listen to our music this way now. We pick songs that accompany what we are doing and let them slide into the background. It's an exceptionally passive way to listen to music. I actually cover this phenomenon in a little more detail in my previous video about the death of music videos, which you can find somewhere around here. Meg isn't alone in her realization. In fact, it's becoming increasingly more commonplace for passionate listeners to question the ethical implications of giving money to streaming services. The reasons vary considerably, whether it be they feel that the artists are being unfairly compensated for their work, receiving less than a penny per stream, or maybe something more heinous, perhaps Spotify quietly investing in the military-industrial complex. That's right, in November 2021, it was revealed that Daniel Elk, Spotify's co-founder and CEO, had quietly invested 100 million euros into an artificial intelligence company that specifically deals with military technology. Reasonably for some, they couldn't bear knowing that their money was being invested into military technology and therefore cancelled their subscriptions. For others, it was simply wanting to avoid the surf. In other words, the endless scroll of social media or the limitless choice that it gives. Large social media companies capitalize on this phenomenon. The longer that you're passively scrolling, the longer that you're engaged with the content that they're showing you, the more ads that they can display to you and the more money they will make. Music streaming services are not too dissimilar from traditional social media and are definitely capitalizing off the soundtracking phenomenon. The longer they can keep you engaged with the music, the more ads they can possibly show you and the more money they will ultimately make. There is also a growing conversation around how music streaming is actually affecting our listening habits in other ways too, such as the death of the album. I'm actually in the works of creating a video about this very topic. Subscribe if you don't want to miss it. How often do you actually find yourself listening to an album in its entirety? Or do you just save one or two tracks and move on to something else? This could spell the end of a very important way in which artists create music. The traditional format of an album gives an artist an opportunity to create a consistent and complete message over multiple connected tracks. If, as listeners, we only choose to consume one or two tracks from an album, the artist loses the ability to tell more in-depth stories or deliver complex messages. So what's the alternative? For some, it's just about going back to the way we used to engage with and listen to our music. Remember these? Or these? Another great way of moving away from streaming services is to reimagine our relationship with MP3s. But you don't even need to go back to older tech. The iTunes store is still available and any song that you've ever listened to can still be purchased outright there too. The artist gets a better payout and you get to keep your music forever. For a few, that's a very important thing, so much so that these dedicated music preservationists are creating their own streaming services at home that they can access anywhere as long as they have an internet connection. For most of us, we won't be building our own in-house streaming services to host our libraries on. Traditional streaming is far too convenient for most of us to give up, and personally for me, it's actually helped me in the process of new music discovery. But there definitely is a movement of people out there that want us to know that they've rekindled their love with music by kicking out these guys. Jared Eliosef, a studio owner in New York, put it quite nicely. Streaming makes the listening experience more passive. It's one of those words that has been assimilated into everyone's vocabulary. Before there was streaming music, what else was streaming? This idea that you can turn on a faucet and out comes music, it's something that leaves everybody taking it for granted. And that has been the rise of the non-streamers. Thanks for watching.